Well, CNN reached out to the Brazilian president's press office about the government's policies in the region and was told the president would make no comments, or his office. CNN also reached out to the Ministry of the Environment and Brazil's National Indigenous Affairs Agency, and they did not reply to our request for comment, and the Indigenous Affairs Agency redirected us to the president and ministry's press office. Well, Daniel Aristizabal is with the Amazon conservation team. He works extensively with tribes in the region. He joins us via Skype from Bogota, Colombia. Good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your time.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Daniel. So, obviously, we just heard about the YP tribe there. Paint a bigger picture for us. How many tribes rely on the Amazon rainforest? How many people are we talking about that live there?
Well, there's roughly from 300 to 400 indigenous tribes living in the Amazon, depends who you ask. And this could be from 1 million to 3 million people. But they're not the only ones who depend on the forest. There's 34 million people that depend directly on the forest. Now, these tribes, though, are the ones that depend most on it because they live in the reserves. And most of the fires have not started in the reserves, but are moving really fast into the reserves now.
Right. And so often we hear that when we talk about the Amazon forest, we hear it being described as the lungs of the earth, not only obviously for the rest of the planet, but those tribes. There's also 3 million species of plants and animals. Give us a sense of how much is under threat with the deforestation we're seeing and now these fires.
Well, the issue here is the capacity of the Amazon to be resilient and grow again. So the problem now is that the fires are much larger than in past years, and we're really scared of this tipping point that everybody talks about, because the catastrophe can not only be for the indigenous communities, but everybody else. We have to remember that the nutrients that come down from the Andes into the Amazon feed the oceans and ultimately feed the organisms that create a lot of the oxygen that we breathe. But another really important thing is that the Amazon serves as a carbon sink. So it's like a carbon sponge that has been grabbing all the contaminants that we've been polluting into the air since the Industrial Revolution and keeping them there safe for us. Now with these fires, we're burning them all into the air and creating pollution, not only in the air, but in the water systems. Ultimately, it's going to affect the whole world, but particularly the people that are living there that depend directly on the forest. So the people that depend on the food, the game, the fish, the timber products, the non-timber products, which are completely their livelihoods.
A lot of people might not realize Brazil is now the biggest exporter of beef and soy. Much of it is grown in what used to be the Amazon rainforest. Surely the world can be blamed in part for that demand.
Yes, the demand is something that we all need to work on, but also the production. You can't have a one-sided solution. So we can all do something in terms of the demand in our lifestyles, and also policies that control this, but also the way that it's being produced. The way that it's being produced is completely incompatible with the way the forest works. There's much more technical ways to produce, more efficient ways of farming and cattling in the Amazon. And we have to listen to the indigenous people who are there, because they're the ones who know how to do that, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years. If we want to produce a surplus, we need to have these dialogues between the indigenous ancient knowledge and the new technologies coming up to avoid these burning and slashing of the forest in these large scales. This can be done, and it's been done in other parts of the world.
So, Daniel, when it comes to conservation, give us a sense of what strategies or policies are working in the Amazon rainforest while taking into consideration Brazil's economy.
Well, something that is very interesting, Linda, is that for years we thought that national parks and protected areas were the best strategy to protect the Amazon. But now what we're actually seeing is that indigenous reserves, which in a way are also productive, are the most efficient strategies for conservation. So when you look at the map, the places that are better preserved, the forests that are more pristine, are actually the forests that are guarded and maintained by indigenous peoples. This requires for a really interesting way to look at the Amazon and try to connect corridors of forests that are still standing. What you want in a forest is for it all to be connected, because otherwise there's no connection between seeds, genes, oxygen, water. You can do that with the Amazon that we have left and still have patches to produce other types of products like soy or cattle.
Daniel Aristizabal, good to have you with us on conservation in the Amazon rainforest. We appreciate your time.